तेरे कवन कवन गुण कह के गावा, तू साहिब गुणी निदाना, तुमरी महिमा बरन ना सको, तुमरी महिमा बरन ना सको, तू ठाकुर ऊंच भगवान। आनंद गुण निधान, गुरु गरीब निवार, गुरु गरीब निवार। कवन गुण प्राण पत मिलो मेरी माई, कवन गुण प्राण मिलो मेरी माई, रूप हीनी रूप हीनी बुध बलहीनी, मोहे परदेसन दूर ते आई, मोहे परदेसन दूर ते आई, रूप हीन बुध बलहीनी, रूप हीन बुध बलहीनी, मोहे परदेसन दूर ते आई, मोहे परदेसन दूर ते आई। कवन गुण प्राण पत हाँ मिलो मेरी माई, कवन गुण प्राण पत हाँ मिलो मेरी माई, रूप हीन रूप हीन बुध बलहीनी, मोहे परदेसन दूर ते आई, मोहे परदेसन नाहेन दरब ना जोबन माती, नाहेन दरब ना जोबन माती, मोहे अनाथ की करो समाई, मोहे अनाथ की करो समाई, मिलो मेरी माँ मोहे परदेस दूर त्या, मोहे परदेस दूर त्या। खोजत खोजत पई बैरागन, खोजत खोजत पई बैरागन, प्रभ दर्शन को फिरत दिसाई, प्रभ दर्शन को फिरत दिसाई, रूपहीन बुद्ध बलहीन, बुद्ध बलहीन, मोहे परदेसन दूर त्याई, मोहे परदेसन दूर दीन दयाल कृपाल प्रभु नानक, दीन दयाल कृपाल प्रभु नानक, साध संगत साध संग मेरी जलन बुझाई, जलन बुझाई, रूपहीन रूपहीन बुद्ध बलहीन, मोहे पर देसन दूर त्या, मोहे पर देसन दूर त्या, कवन गुण प्राणपत मिलो मेरी माई, रूपहीन बुद्ध बलहीन, मोहे पर दे ਦੂਰ ਤੇ ਆਈ, ਮੋਹੇ ਪਰਦੇਸ ਦੂਰ ਤੇ ਆਈ, ਦੂਰ ਤੇ ਆਈ, ਦੂਰ ਤੇ ਆਈ। ਵੱਡੀ ਵਡਿਆਈ ਅਚਰਜ ਸੋਭਾ, ਵੱਡੀ ਵਡਿਆਈ ਅਚਰਜ ਸੋਭਾ, ਕਾਰਜ ਆਇਆ ਰਾਸੇ, ਕਾਰਜ ਆਇਆ ਰਾਸੇ। ਵੱਡੀ ਵਡਿਆਈ ਅਚਰਜ ਸੋਭਾ, ਵੱਡੀ ਵਡਿਆਈ ਅਚਰਜ ਸੋਭਾ, ਕਾਰਜ ਆਇਆ ਰਾਸੇ, ਕਾਰਜ ਆਇਆ ਰਾਸੇ। ਨਾਨਕ ਕੋ ਗੁਰਪੂਰਾ ਭੇਟਿਓ, ਨਾਨਕ ਕੋ ਗੁਰਪੂਰਾ ਭੇਟਿਓ, ਸਗਲੇ ਦੁਖ ਬਿਨਾਸੇ, ਸਗਲੇ ਦੁਖ ਬਿਨਾਸੇ, ਸਗਲੇ ਦੁਖ ਬਿਨਾਸੇ। ਵੱਡੀ ਵਡਿਆਈ ਅਚਰਜ ਸੋਭਾ, ਵੱਡੀ ਵਡਿਆਈ। ਗੁਰਪੂਰਾ ਭੇਟਿਓ ਵਡ ਭਾਗੀ, ਮਨ ਪਿਆ ਪਰਗਾਸਾ, ਕੋਈ ਨਾ ਪਹੁੰਚਣ ਹਾਰਾ ਦੂਜਾ, ਆਪਣੇ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਕਾ ਪਰਵਾਸਾ। ਆਪਣੇ ਸਤਿਗੁਰ ਕੈ ਬਲਹਾਰੈ, ਸਤਿਗੁਰ ਕੈ ਬਲਹਾਰੈ। ਆਗੇ ਸੁਖ ਪਾਛੈ ਸੁਖ ਸਹਿਜਾ, ਕਰ ਆਨੰਦ ਹਮਾਰੇ, ਕਰ ਆਨੰਦ ਹਮਾਰੇ, ਕਰ ਆਨੰਦ ਹਮਾਰੇ। ਵੱਡੀ ਵਡਿਆਈ ਅਚਰਜ ਸੋਭਾ, ਵੱਡੀ ਵਡਿਆਈ ਅਚਰਜ ਸੋਭਾ, ਕਾਰਜ ਆਇਆ ਰਾਸੇ, ਕਾਰਜ ਆਇਆ ਰਾਸੇ। ਅੰਤਰਜਾਮੀ ਕਰਨੇ ਹਾਰਾ, ਸੋਈ ਖਸਮ ਹਮਾਰਾ। ਨਿਰਭਉ ਭਏ ਗੁਰ ਚਰਨੀ ਲਾਗੇ, ਇਕ ਰਾਮ ਨਾਮ ਪਿਆਰਾ। ਸਫਲ ਦਰਸ ਅਕਾਲ ਮੂਰਤ, ਪ੍ਰਭ ਹੈ ਪੀ ਹੋਵਣ ਹਾਰਾ। ਕੰਠ ਲਗਾਏ ਆਪਣੇ ਜਨ ਰਾਖੇ, ਆਪਣੀ ਪ੍ਰੀਤ ਪਿਆਰਾ, ਆਪਣੀ ਪ੍ਰੀਤ ਪਿਆਰਾ, ਆਪਣੀ ਪ੍ਰੀਤ ਪਿਆਰਾ। ਵੱਡੀ ਵਡਿਆਈ ਅਚਰਜ ਸੋਭਾ, ਵੱਡੀ ਵਡਿਆਈ ਅਚਰਜ ਸੋਭਾ, ਕਾਰਜ ਆਇਆ ਰਾਸੇ, 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 ਕਾਰਜ ਆਇਆ ਰਾਸੇ। ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ, ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ।
ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ, ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ। ਸਾਰੀਆਂ ਸੰਗਤਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਬੇਨਤੀ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਜਦੋਂ ਵੀ ਸਟੇਜ ਤੋਂ ਫਤਿਹ ਬੁਲਾਈ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਹੈ ਨਾ, ਇਹ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਜਾਗਦੇ ਰਹਿਣ ਦੀ ਨਿਸ਼ਾਨੀ ਹੈ ਇੱਕ, ਵੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਜਾਗਦੇ ਹੋ। ਜਦੋਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਫਤਿਹ ਦਾ ਜਵਾਬ ਫਤਿਹ ਵਿੱਚ ਦਿਓ। ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਜਥੇ ਵਾਲਿਆਂ ਨੇ ਬੁਲਾਈ, ਉਦੋਂ ਵੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਕੋਈ ਬੋਲਿਆ, ਮੈਂ ਬੁਲਾਈ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਵੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਬੋਲੇ। ਇੱਕ ਵਾਰੀ ਫਿਰ ਸਬੂਤ ਦਿਓ ਵੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਜਾਗਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਬੈਠੇ ਹਾਂ। ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ, ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ। ਬਹੁਤ ਬਹੁਤ ਧੰਨਵਾਦ ਹੈ। ਇਹ ਛੋਟੇ ਬੱਚੇ ਭਾਈ ਮਨਵੀਰ ਸਿੰਘ ਹੁਣੀ ਅਤੇ ਪਰਮਵੀਰ ਸਿੰਘ ਹੁਣੀ, ਜੋ ਇੱਥੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਗੁਰਦੁਆਰਾ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਦੇ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਅਰੇਂਜਮੈਂਟ ਚੱਲ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਕੀਰਤਨ ਸਿਖਾਉਣ ਦੇ, ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਇੱਥੋਂ ਹੀ ਵਿੱਦਿਆ ਪ੍ਰਾਪਤ ਕੀਤੀ ਆ ਕੀਰਤਨ ਦੀ। ਇੱਥੋਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਤਬਲਾ ਸਿੱਖਿਆ ਅਤੇ ਅੱਜ ਗੁਰੂ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਦੀ ਕਿਰਪਾ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਇਹ ਵੱਡੀਆਂ ਵੱਡੀਆਂ ਸਟੇਜਾਂ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਕੀਰਤਨ ਕਰਨ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਨੇ। ਧੰਨ ਸਤਿਗੁਰੂ ਗ੍ਰੰਥ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਪਿਤਾ ਜੀ ਕਿਰਪਾ ਕਰਨ, ਇਹਨਾਂ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਜੀਵਨ ਦੀਆਂ ਕਾਮਯਾਬੀਆਂ ਬਖਸ਼ਿਸ਼ ਕਰਨ ਅਤੇ ਇਸੇ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਇਹ ਗੁਰੂ ਨਾਨਕ ਦੇ ਘਰ ਦੇ ਸੰਦੇਸ਼ੇ ਦਿੰਦੇ, ਇਸੇ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਇਹ ਗੁਰਮਤਿ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਜੁੜ ਕੇ ਰਹਿਣ। ਗੁਰਦੁਆਰਾ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਦੇ ਪ੍ਰਬੰਧ ਵੱਲੋਂ, ਸਾਰੀ ਸੰਗਤ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਦਾ ਬਹੁਤ ਬਹੁਤ ਧੰਨਵਾਦ ਹੈ। ਆਓ ਮੈਂ ਬੇਨਤੀ ਕਰਾਂਗਾ, ਸਾਡੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਹੀ ਸਤਿਕਾਰਯੋਗ ਭਾਈ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਭਾਈ ਅਮਨਦੀਪ ਸਿੰਘ ਜੀ, ਜੋ ਇੱਥੇ ਦੇ ਨੌਜਵਾਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਦਿਲਾਂ ਦੀ ਧੜਕਣ ਨੇ ਅਤੇ ਨੌਜਵਾਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਅੰਗਰੇਜ਼ੀ ਅਤੇ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਗੁਰੂ ਸ਼ਬਦ ਵਿਚਾਰ ਕਰਕੇ ਇੱਥੇ ਦੇ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ, ਨੌਜਵਾਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਗੁਰੂ ਦੇ ਚਰਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਜੋੜ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ ਅਤੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਹੀ ਸਰਲ ਤਰੀਕੇ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ, ਵਧੀਆ ਢੰਗ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਇਹ ਗੁਰੂ ਨਾਨਕ ਘਰ ਦੇ ਸੰਦੇਸ਼ੇ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਨੇ। ਇਸ ਗੁਰੂ ਘਰ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇੱਥੇ ਪੁੱਜਣ 'ਤੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਜੀ ਆਇਆਂ ਆਖਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਸਾਰੀ ਸੰਗਤ ਵੱਲੋਂ। ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਬਹੁਤ ਬਹੁਤ ਧੰਨਵਾਦ ਹੈ। ਆਪਣੇ ਰੁਝੇਵਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ ਸਮਾਂ ਕੱਢ ਕੇ ਇੱਥੇ ਪੁੱਜੇ ਨੇ। ਸਾਰੀ ਸੰਗਤ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਜੀ ਆਇਆਂ। 1 ਵਜੇ ਤੱਕ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਸਮਾਂ ਹੈ। ਸੋ ਆਓ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਕੋਲੋਂ ਆਪਾਂ ਗੁਰਸ਼ਬਦ ਦੇ ਵਿਚਾਰ, ਗੁਰਮਤਿ ਵਿਚਾਰਾਂ ਸਰਵਣ ਕਰਨੀਆਂ ਨੇ। ਸੰਗਤਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਬੇਨਤੀ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਜਿੰਨਾ ਚਿਰ ਬੈਠਣਾ, ਚੁੱਪ ਦਾ ਦਾਨ ਬਖਸ਼ਿਸ਼ ਕਰਕੇ ਇਹ ਪਰਨ ਕਰਕੇ ਆਇਆ ਕਰੋ ਕਿ ਅੱਜ ਸੁਣਾਉਣਾ ਨਹੀਂ, ਅੱਜ ਸੁਣਨਾ ਆ। ਇਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਆਪਣੀਆਂ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰਨੀਆਂ। ਆਓ ਗੁਰੂ ਸ਼ਬਦ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਜੁੜੀਏ। ਭਾਈ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਭਾਈ ਅਮਨਦੀਪ ਸਿੰਘ ਜੀ, ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ, ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ।
ਓੰਕਾਰ ਸਤਿਨਾਮ ਕਰਤਾ ਪੁਰਖ ਨਿਰਭਉ ਨਿਰਵੈਰ ਅਕਾਲ ਮੂਰਤ ਆਜੂਨੀ ਸੈਭੰ ਗੁਰ ਪ੍ਰਸਾਦ ਜਪ ਆਦ ਸਚ ਜੁਗਾਦ ਸਚ ਹੈ ਪੀ ਸਚ ਨਾਨਕ ਹੋਸੀ ਪੀ ਸਚ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ 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 Vaheguru Vaheguru Bani Guru Guru hai Bani Vich Bani Amrit Sare Gurbani ke hai sevak jan mane Partakh Guru Nistare Amrit Bani har har teri Sun sun hove paramagat meri Jalan buji sital huए manua Satgur ka darshan paaye jiyo Firat firat prabh aaya Pariya to sarnaye Nanak ki prabh benti Apni bhagti laaye Nanak ki prabh benti Apni bhagti laaye परम सत्कारयोग गुरु खालसा साध संगत जी गज वज के फतेह बुलाओ वाहे गुरु जी का खालसा वाहे गुरु जी की फतेह गुरु खालसा साध संगत जी दास ने 40-50 मिनट अंग्रेजी कथा विच करनी है जिन्हां नूं अंग्रेजी नहीं समझ आउंदी मैं उन्हां दा चरणा दे विच माफ़ी मंगदा We're blessed to be in the company of Sahib Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji Maharaj, the 11th form of Guru Nanak Padshah. We're blessed to be here today. And we say these words and Kathavajiks and Gurmukhs come together and we speak of how blessed we are to be here. But why is it so that we are blessed? Why is it such that we can say we are blessed to be sitting in the Hazoori of Guru Nanak Padshah in their 11th form? You see, we may have woken this morning and made plans to come to the Gurdwara. Maybe we were undertaking our chores, arranging our family affairs, brushing our teeth, having a shower, putting on our clothes. And in our minds, we are formulating plans that in the afternoon we'll go to the Gurdwara, that in the afternoon we'll come and have darshan of Maharaj. And so in our minds we think we are here because of the plans that we have made. But the truth is, everybody sitting before the Guru right now is here because Guru Sahib has brought you here today. Maharaj sanu farmaunde han pi aape sangat saad bahale aape vida karave. Maharaj is explaining to us, bi aape sangat saad bahale. Don't think that you're here because of your thoughts and plans. Maharaj is the one that brings the sangat towards them. Maharaj is the one that makes those go further away and those that bring them nearer. Sab te nere sabante dura Maharaj is the one that has brought you here today. And in the second half of this Pankti, Maharaj says, Ape vida karave. What is vida? Vida, this concept we may have heard. We may have come across this concept. Perhaps the generation above mine will be more familiar with the term. But vida is something which perhaps most of us will have experienced in our childhood. Vida is the understanding that nobody should leave your house empty-handed. Vida is the understanding that when somebody should come to your house, that you should give them something before they leave. Perhaps as you've been to your Pua's house, to your Bibbi's house, and you're putting your shoes on as a child, you're leaving the house, and your Bibbi will be like, wait, 1 second. And she disappears into the kitchen. And she comes back with a Twix or a £1 coin and says, you can't leave my house without taking something with you. Vida is that understanding that nobody should leave your house empty. And Guru Sahib is saying, Ape sangata sad bahale, ape vida karave. Before you leave this darbar, what vida will Maharaj give you? What gift will Maharaj place upon you as you leave this darbar? Far more valuable than any Twix, far more valuable than any £1 coin that you can spend in the shop on the way home. Ape vida karave. What blessings are there to be received as we sit before Guru Granth Sahib Ji Maharaj? Well, we can go to our itihas to find out an example of just this. There was an occasion when Sant Jarnail Singh Ji Khasa Pindrawale, they are making their way towards the darbar. And with them is the forge. The Singhs are walking behind Sant Jarnail Singh Ji, and they come across a Pandit. A Pandit is a religious, a holy person from the Hindu faith. The Pandit says to Sant Jarnail Singh Ji, I make my living by reading the fortunes of people, looking upon their foreheads and telling them their futures. This is not Sikhi Dorte, this is not within Sikh Maryada. Guru Nanak Pacha has explained to us as Gurmukhs that we're not here to read, to second guess the plan before us. Hukume andar sab ko bahar hukum na koi, nanak hukume je bujje ta home kehe na koi. Maharaj is saying it's not for us to second guess, to read, to understand, but to live in acceptance of the hukum. But Cholo, this is the path that this Pandit is being walking upon. The Pandit says to Sant Jarnail Singh Ji, they say, my way is to read the foreheads, to read the mustak of those and tell them what their futures hold. Again, this is not within Gurmat. But Sant Jarnail Singh Ji is not here to break hearts. Sant Jarnail Singh Ji is here to join those with who they really are inside. The Pandit says, would you mind if I apply my trade that I can earn my daily wage by looking upon the foreheads of the Singhs, and I can tell them their futures and I can make my living? So Sant Jarnail Singh Ji, they smile. And they give them permission to go and approach the Singhs. And as that Pandit goes to the Singhs, they look upon the mustak, they look upon the forehead of those Gurmukh Pyare that have spent their time in the company of such great saints, spent their time in the company of Guru Granth Sahib Ji Maharaj. And as he looks upon the foreheads, he finds that he can read nothing. That the foreheads upon those that he gaze look as empty as perhaps ours do to each other right now. And he comes back to Sant Jarnail Singh Ji and he says, Sant Ji, this is my trade, I can assure you. But for today, for some reason, I can see nothing. I can't explain to you why today my power to read is lost before you. And Sant Jarnail Singh Ji says, come with me. Let's go and see Guru Granth Sahib Ji Maharaj that you can get your answer. And so Sant Jarnail Singh Ji, they take this Pandit and they go to Sri Hari Mandir Sahib. That Mandir for Hari, that house of God, the golden temple at Darbar Sahib in Amritsar. And Sant Janel Singh Ji, they beckon the Pandits to come forward, they do an ashara, go and do Matha Tek and you will get all of your answers. And as the Pandit goes to do Matha Tek before Guru Granth Sahib Ji Maharaj, as all of you have done today, they see upon the floor before Guru Granth Sahib Ji Maharaj all of the karams, all of the lekha, all of the words, all of the destinies, all of the futures that they would ordinarily see upon the foreheads of the Singhs. The Pandit is like, what is going on? What I see upon the forehead is now empty. What I never see upon the floor is now full. What is this play being played out to me today? And Sant Janel Singh Ji would go on to explain that for those that do Matha Tek before Guru Granth Sahib Ji Maharaj, all of that karam, all of that pun and all of that paap, that Maharaj takes that from the foreheads and is scraped away from that person's futures, such that they should not have to live in those difficult circumstances. That all of those destinies that they get laid before the Guru, all of your worries, all of your pains, all of your anxieties, that when we do that namaskar before Guru Granth Sahib Ji Maharaj, that they are left at the floor before the Guru. Ape sangat sad behale, ape vida karave. What vida is this, Guru Pyari Sad Sangat Ji? That we come into the Guru's darbar and we can leave all of our troubles at the feet of the Guru. Guru Amar Das Ji Maharaj would spend years, 72 years, walking upon this earth, looking for that experience which we all have before us right now. Looking for the experience of sitting before a true Satguru. They would find Guru Angad Dev Ji Maharaj when Guru Amar Das Ji Maharaj was 72. And having found Guru Angad Dev Ji Maharaj, they would fall at their feet and they would serve them every day. And they give us the instruction, Bhi aisa Satguru je mile, tesno sir so piye, vichoho aap jai. Maharaj is speaking, and they're speaking quite harshly. They're saying, yo, if you are ever so blessed to be before a Satguru, if you're ever so blessed, Bhi aisa Satguru je mile, tesno sir so piye, vichoho aap jai. Maharaj is speaking such strong words. They're saying, yo, if you ever get to find yourself before a Sadguru, forget that you even exist, chop off your head and present it at the Guru's feet. What is Maharaj telling us to do? They're not telling us to take out our Gurbans and chop off our own heads. Maharaj is explaining to us that all of that karam, which is built up from lifetimes, which is written upon your heads, if you place your head before the Guru, just as those Gurmukh Pyare in the company of Sant Janel Singh Ji did, that when you place your head before the Guru, when you relieve it there, when you stand up as a Guru Khalsa, as you go before the Guru as a Manamukh, as we go before the Guru as somebody not unworthy, if we live out there, when we stand up as the Guru Khalsa. What does it mean to leave our head at the Guru's feet? I don't mean that we don't physically stand back up. It means that when we come into the Guru's darbar, we place our own mud before the Guru and say, Maharaj, take away our mud and give me your understanding. We aap gavaiye, ta soho paiye, aur kaisi chatarai. Maharaj explains to us, we aap gavaiye. Forget about yourself. Ta soho paiye, that's how you can find your husband, Lord. Aur kaisi chatarai, what else is there for me to concern myself with? Guru Pyari Sad Sangat Ji, when we come into the Guru's darbar, we are blessed. To sit before the Guru, we are blessed. Guru Ramdas Ji Maharaj explains to us, Sant Jana Har Mel, Har Paya Vadabagiya, Balaram Jiyo, be Sant Jana Har Mel. That find that company, be in the company of those that are walking towards the Guru. Sant Jana Har Mel, Har Paya. That in this way you will find God. Sant Jana Har Mel, Har Paya, Vadabhagya, Balaram Jiyo. Maharaj is explaining to us that if you want to find God, find the Sadh Sangat. Find those that are walking towards the Guru. And the deeper messages can be found as we strip off the layers of the onion to this Saki. Be who was it that Pandit came across, stumbled across? They would come across those Sant, those Jan, those servants of the Guru. And just by being in the company of those that are going towards the Guru, where does the Pandit find himself? They find himself doing Matha Tek before the Guru. The question for us is, who do we spend our time with on a daily basis? Who are we walking towards every single day, such that we will be kept in that current and taken in that direction? Turde ko turda mile, urde ko urda. Guru Sahib explains to us, Turde ko turda mile, that the way that you walk, that who you choose to walk with will determine where you're going to go. Urde ko urda. But if you choose to keep the company of those that fly, urde ko urda, you too will fly. And the question then for us is to reflect and ask the question, be who do I sit with? Whose company am I keeping? In whose presence do I need to find myself closer to the Guru? In whose company do I need to seek out to find myself traveling towards the Guru? And as we sit before the Guru, a Saki comes to mind. Sunaiye mukha salahan mand. We might think of ourselves as unworthy as we speak these words of walking the path of the Guru. We might think of these words that this path is for those Gurmukhs. We might say, yo, this path is for those that are blessed. Me, the life that I have lived, the things that I have done, this path is not for me. We might berate ourselves and say the way that I dress means that I cannot change. The things that I eat, the things that I drink mean that I cannot make progress. Khair Guru Sikh Guru Pyareo, we look at our history to see the examples of those that have made miraculous transformations by the blessings of the Guru. How can we make a change in our own life? How can we become worthy to sit in the company of those saints that sing the praises of God? Guru Pyari Sadh Sangat Ji, Guru Nanak Pacha explains to us that the formula is so simple, that the path is just one, and that the path is so straightforward. Maharaj explains to us, Sunaiye mukha salahan mand. Maharaj explains that when you listen to Gurbani, Sunaiye, just by listening to the Shabad, by listening to the Guru's Shabad, Sunaiye mukha salahan mand. What will happen is you can go from being a mand is a bad person, and a mukh is a mukhi purush, a very good person. Maharaj is explaining, Sunaiye mukha salahan mand, just by listening to the Shabad of the Guru, by coming to the Guru Kar, listening to Sukhmani Sahib, listening to Kirtan, that you can go from being a mand purush to someone that is a mukhi purush. And you're probably thinking, how can that happen? We can look at our history for so many examples of those that were, we could describe them as mand purush, bad, but by hearing the Guru's Shabad, they completely turned around. And there's a wonderful example which I want to share with you now from our history. Guru Nanak Pacha and Bhai Mardana, they're traveling this world. They're blessing the world with the darshan of Guru Nanak. And as Guru Nanak is looking into the eyes of those souls, their ego is melting away and they're feeling that bairag and they're falling in love with the Guru. And Guru Nanak Pacha would travel the world and they would bless people in this way. And they end up in one place which we now refer to as Dhaka in Bangladesh. And in this area, there is a person whose name is Bhumia. Bhumia is known as being quite a dishonest person. And he's got the whole area under wraps, so to speak. That's how we put it in East London. The whole area under wraps in the sense that nobody can do anything without speaking to Bhumia first. And so Guru Nanak Pacha, they go and they see a family, and the family starts to feed Guru Nanak Pacha, and then they stop out of fear. They say, oh no, only one person is allowed to feed the saints when they come to this area. And if we feed you, we're going to get in trouble with the guy who's in charge. Would you like us to take you to who's in charge of this area, who's got everybody pretty much under wraps? And Guru Nanak Pacha, they smile. They say, that is who we've come here to see. The Ape Sangata Sadh Bahale. Guru Nanak Pacha is the one that brings the Sangat close to them. So they get taken to the house of Pumya. And Pumya, they present beautiful, delicate dishes before Guru Nanak Pacha. And wonderful foods and delicacies. Bhai Mardana is thinking, yo, I'm going to be able to eat my full today. For many days, Bhai Mardana would walk with Guru Nanak without eating even a small morsel of food. And now they're being presented with all these beautiful foods. Bhai Mardana is thinking, I'm going to dig in. But Guru Nanak Pacha, though their physical body is not had any nourishment, they're not moving a muscle. Bhai Mardana is looking at Guru Nanak, Pumya is looking at Guru Nanak. Guru Nanak is very still. They say to Pumya, before I eat this food, Minudas, teri kirat ki hai, apna kam ki hai, what do you do for a living? Pumya was like, don't ask me that, just eat the food. Guru Nanak Pacha dobara puch liya, kehta teri kirat ki hai. He goes, look, don't ask me these questions. I can't tell you a lie. Something was stirring in the heart of Pumya, that as Guru Nanak Pacha is looking into these eyes, what would be very easy for Pumya normally to just tell a lie, in this moment transfixed in the form of love before them, they can speak no lies. Pumya says, look, please, don't ask me these questions. Guru Nanak Pacha, they insist. They said, tell me, what is your job? Pumya Jor says, look, you're asking me what I do. I'm a Jor. I rob people. This is what I do. Guru Nanak Pacha looks at him and goes, I can't eat this food. This food that you've brought me here has come from an impure prophet. No prophet can be said, no honest money is being used to make this food, and I won't be eating this food. Pumya Jor's like, look, please, you seem like such a beautiful person. Please accept me as your Jella. Please accept me as your Gursik, as your Sikh. Guru Nanak Pacha says, I have 3 conditions for you, Pumya. And if you fulfill these 3 conditions, then I'll accept you. Pumya Jor is so excited. Everywhere Pumya has gone, when they find out that he's a Jor, all the fakirs, all the pandits, all the Brahmins, they send him away. They say, you're not worthy to be here. I will not be here to represent you in this world or the world hereafter. And here Pumya Jor has told Guru Nanak Pacha, "Main Jorya, main pakka Jorya," but फिर भी Guru Nanak Pacha उन्हें रख लिया. He's never felt this way before, that he could speak that truth, and in his heart he can feel that his strings are being plucked and his soul is beginning to open up. He's found somebody that even knows his innermost darkest secrets, but he's not rejecting him. You see, Guru Nanak Pacha is that sun. The sun doesn't look discriminately upon the plants of this earth and say, I will give you my light and I will not give it to you. Because the sun is aware that in spite of anyone's imperfections, that everybody needs that source of life. They're not here to judge. A little bit like a washing machine. Whatever you put in that machine is going to come out clean. The washing machine doesn't reject. And Guru Nanak Pacha, whilst others who've got their own shortcomings are judging Pumya by their own shortcomings, Guru Nanak Pacha is here to liberate the world. Apa kehande Jagat Guru. Bhi haiga Guru Nanak Pacha asli Jagat Guru ta hai ki nahi? Guru Nanak Pacha says to Pumya Chor, I've got 3 conditions for you. That if you fulfill these 3 conditions, I will accept you as my Sikh. Pumya Chor says, look, don't ask me to stop stealing. Whatever you do, don't ask me to stop stealing. Because that's the only way I can make money. It's the only way I can support my family. It's the only job that I know how to do that I'm any good at. But Guru Nanak Pacha was going to get there in their own way. Guru Nanak Pacha says, the first condition, Hamesha tu sach bolna chahida hai. From now on, you will only speak the truth. wherever you go, whatever you do, you will always speak the truth. Guru Nanak Pacha says the second condition is that you will never let anybody else. The second condition is wherever you go, whatever you do, if you steal from that person's house, you'll never eat the salt from that person's house. This is a saying that's now become commonplace, but you never rob from that person who you've eaten from. And the third condition is that you don't let anybody else get in trouble for what you're doing. Remember the first condition? The first condition is no falsehood, only truth. The second condition, but you can't eat the salt from the house from which you've stolen. And the third condition is you won't let anybody else get tangled up in your wrongdoings, getting in trouble for what you have done. And Punyachor was like, yo, I can carry on stealing. This is the perfect guru. Obviously, stealing is bad. Nobody is saying that Guru Nanak Pacha condones stealing, and in the Sakhi we will learn that what will come from this, just in case anybody leaves right now thinking they're going to go and rob the car garage down the road. Stealing is bad. Don't steal cars. Pumya's Guru Nanak Pacha says to Punyachor, those are my three instructions. My advice to you as a father to a son, be don't steal. When you steal, you're robbing from yourself the opportunity of this life. Pumya's look, don't give me that. There's nothing, I can't get around this. I need to eat. Guru Nanak Pacha said, you'll learn in your own way. And so Guru Nanak Pacha, they go their own way, and Punyachor, they're so thankful in their heart. Something's changed. They've had a chance to look upon that face of that formless Lord. They've had a chance to look upon that face of that one who just by looking upon them take away millions of sins. But just as when we leave it too long before we come back to the Guru Kar, as we spend too much time in the world and not enough time in the Guru's Charan, the world starts to take over. And after a while, Punyachor, they start to feel that itch from that habit that they've adopted, which is hard to die, that need to steal. He's thinking, yo, there's going to be a party at a palace. There's a king that's coming to town, and he's very wealthy. And this king is going to invite some very wealthy people to his house. And there'll be very valuable things in his property. I'm going to go there and I'm going to rob him. So what does Punyachor do? Sant Hari Singh Ji, Randave Wale, they write in Gurbani Arth Bhandar, a great treasure for this generation, if anybody has a chance to download it. Sant Hari Singh Ji writes that Punyachor would dress up in the clothes of a very rich diplomat. He goes, I'm going to go to that king's house, I'm going to pretend I'm one of the king's guests, like a diplomat from another area. And I'm going to mingle with the guests, and then I'm going to rob the place and rob all the people there. So Punyachor puts on his best clothes, and he goes to the palace in the darkness of the night. And as he approaches the gates, unexpectedly to Punya, two guards come out from the sides with shastar, and they've got barshe, they've got weapons, and they point the spades at Punyachor. They say, who are you? Why are you here? And what is your business? And Punyachor freezes. He's about to say, I'm just a guest. Can't you see from my clothes? I'm a very rich person. I've come here, I'm a guest of your king. Let me in. But something stops him. His heart starts to turn. What was that first condition that Guru Nanak Pacha put on them? You will always speak the truth. Tu hamesha sach bolna hai. Punyachor is stuck. What do I do? I've just about got me a Satguru. What did Guru Amar Das Ji Maharaj say? Bhi aisa Satguru je mile, tisno sir sopi hai, vicho aap jai. If you ever find a true Guru, don't lose them. Cut off your own head. Do everything you can. Everybody else has rejected Punyachor, just like we might feel rejected in the world sometimes. And here, Punyachor is standing with spears being put upon his neck. He closes his eyes and he thinks of his Sadguru, Guru Nanak. He thinks of my Sadguru Nanak. He takes a deep breath and he says, I'm here to rob this place. I'm a thief. I've come from far away, and I've come here to rob this place of every stone and trinket and coin and dime. And the guards, they look at each other. They look at Bumya. They look at him up and down. And he's in his nice threads. He's got his nice silken robes. They go, this guy's no thief. He's obviously one of the king's guests and he's playing a joke on us. We better let him in. If we don't let him in, we're going to get in trouble from our king for giving his guests a hard time on this day which should be a banquet. Spears withdrawn, side steps taken, a pathway made, and Bumya Chor, they steal themselves into the castle. They go, this is easy. Guru Nanak Bacha, thank you. You're my passport. You're my ticket. And they venture their way up into the kitchen. Fashion has changed now, Sadh Sangat Ji, but in the times of Guru Nanak Bacha, the way that you would show your wealth is in the bande of your house. The bande, they weren't from IKEA. They were diamond encrusted, that when you served food, it would be evident the value of your house, of your household. And so by Bumya Chor, they go into the kitchen of this king to look at the bande, the gold encrusted, diamond encrusted, gold laden glasses and plates and cutlery. And they see all of this wealth. They say, I'm going to be rich. My children will be rich. My children's children will be rich. I'm so wealthy. So they put our chadar on the floor, much like the one that I'm sitting on now. And they put all of the money, all of the wealth in the middle. They put all of these cutleries and plates and bialla, all of these things that would hold wine and things like this. They put them in the middle, and they take one corner, they bring it in, the other together, they tie a knot, and the other two corners. And they tie up this chadar into a big knot, having collected all of this wealth. And as a Jora does, he's completely consumed by the value. This greed has taken his mind. This lobe is in his mind. He's thinking about how much wealth he's got, what he's going to buy, what he's going to do, what status he will now have in the world. Completely consumed by this greed. He's working up such a hunger from all of the work that he's done in this kitchen. In this kitchen, what does he see? In the corner of his eye, he sees this pot. Bhai Veer Singh Ji writes that there was a pot there, much like we have salt and pepper. There was this kala namak, this powder, and you would use it for indigestion. And he's so hungry, and he's taken by this powder. He picks it up, and he puts some of it to his lips to see what it is. And that sweet but sour taste of that salt enters his mouth, and he's so hungry, he gets taken by this, and he consumes. What was the second condition of Guru Nanak Badshah? Be never take food from that house. Never take the salt of that house from which you're going to rob. And now Bumya Chor is sitting in front of a mountain of wealth that would make him rich beyond his wildest dreams. And in front of him is such a wealth which to a Jord is almost irrefusable, cannot be turned away from. Such a score. But in his mind, he can hear the vision of Guru Nanak Badshah. He's heard that voice of Guru Nanak, and that Shabad is resounding within him. We Nanak Nadari Nadar Nihal. That just when you have a glance of grace upon you by the Guru, things will change in your life. There will be nothing written on your forehead, so to speak, as you go before the Guru, as you bow. Bumya Chor is thinking, what do I do? He's thinking, nah, this Guru Nanak has stitched me right up. I cannot lose my Sadguru. I can lose this wealth, but to lose a Sadguru after having been to so many Pandits, so many Brahmins, so many Rishis, so many Peer, to lose such a Sadguru now would be, for me, an irretrievable loss. So what do they do that night? What do they steal? The only thing that they steal away is their own presence, and they leave that kitchen in such a state, such a clara, and they leave, leaving all the bande tied up. And the king comes downstairs into the kitchen, just as we might do in the morning, to get a bowl of cornflakes and a glass of milk, except there's no bowls in the cupboards. They're all stacked in the middle of the floor of his kitchen. And he sounds the alarm that somebody has been here today, that some thief has made their way into the kitchen. But for my making noise coming down the stairs, they were going to steal all the bande. Who had access to my kitchen? And he goes to the guards, those that were responsible for those that could have access to and egress from the building. And he says, you're the only people that had access here. And Sant Hari Singh Ji writes that they were forgiven, that they explained that there was this person that presented themselves in a disguise and they thought that they were a guest, and the king in their benevolence, they forgive them. Other accounts by Veer Singh Ji say that they were taken to cells and they were beaten viciously, and that the guards were told, Maaf karna Saad Sangat Ji, the guards weren't beaten, the guards were sent to the local village of the very lowest of people, the poorest of people in the worldly sense, we can say. And the guards were sent there, and all of the villagers were beaten fiercely, viciously, that the one who was a Chor among them would come forward and present themselves. Bumya Chor is now at home, and news reaches him that the villagers are being beaten, that the Chor should come forward from those in the village, and that through fear and violence that they're all being put in prison, that those who are in the prison should eventually be broken through the torture, and that eventually this Chor will speak. And Bumya was like, there's no Chor in that prison, the Chor is I. What do I do? I should just stay quiet, says the ego within. There's no problem for me. I'm sitting here on my IKEA sofa watching my flat screen TV. I can just stay quiet in my life, says our own ego within, as we sit still as the world is put to wrongs. Bumya Chor is sitting in his house. But what do I do? There's nothing for me to do. I'm chilling. But those heartstrings are being plucked once more by that vision of Guru Nanak Badshah, because I can't have this. I can't have this, that others should suffer whilst I am sitting here free. And Bumya Chor, they venture into the king's castle. They walk up to the king and they present themselves before the king. They say, I am your Chor. My name's Bumya. I came in a disguise. Your guards let me in. And I was going to rob you blind. The king's looking at the Chor. He says, you're the worst thief I've ever met. You're an honest thief. What kind of a thief is this? He goes, it's a long story. He goes, I ate your salt too. He goes, what do you mean you ate my salt? He goes, it's a long story. You wouldn't understand. It's between me and my Satguru. He goes, you're a thief? You got a Satguru? What is this? Thieves don't have Sadgurus. There's no honor amongst thieves. He goes, it's a long story. He goes, tell me the story, I beckon thee. Bumya Chor explains to him that there's a person who's come to his village. He's not like anybody else. That they feed all discriminately, not just food from the langar, but spirit food for the soul. That when you look upon my Sadguru Nanak, something stirs within you. I don't know what vida he gave me when he left my house that day. But from that day forth, I couldn't speak no lies. From that day forth, I could eat from no one's house that I'm stealing from, and I can't bear the thought that others are being beaten in my name. You do what you will to me, but please, I beg you, stop torturing these innocent souls who are strangers to me. You have to understand, Bumya was very wealthy. They were, as we said, the lord of the manor in many respects. And these people were the people that took on the smallest of daily households. They were, in the worldly sense, in Sikh Dharam we don't believe in caste, but in the worldly sense, they were doing very menial labor basic jobs. And here was this very wealthy, well-to-do, again only in the worldly sense, Bumya Chor, sacrificing himself to the king's punishment for otherwise slaves and laborers. Guru Nanak Badshah explains that when you truly waken, there is no high people, there is no low people. We Nanak Uttam Nij na koi. Bhumia Jor tells his story to the king. The king says, yo, I could do with a man like you. You're an honest person. Do with me a favor. Sit with me some more. Tell me more about Guru Nanak Badshah. I will make you a vizier. I will make you an MP. I will make you an advisor to my court. For there are no more among me now that are more honest than you. Though you call yourself a Jor, an honest Jor at that. Bhumia's like, you want me to be your advisor? I've just come to your house and told you I robbed you or was going to, but I ate your kitchen. I ate the salt from your kitchen. He goes, yeah, be my advisor. So Bhumia Jor, they become the king's advisor. What path is this? What path is this that Bhumia Jor has become an advisor to a king? Sunaya Mukha Salahan Mand. Guru Nanak Badshah explains Sunaya, just by listening to the Guru and their bachans, be it 3 bachans to Bhumia Jor, be it any of theirs that Guru Sahib chooses to give. Sunaya Mukha Salahan Mand. That person, that being, can go from being a Mand Purush, from being the worst of the worst, from being that Jor, to becoming that Mukhi Purush, that great being, that one who's liberated from this world. Guru Pyari Sad Sangat Ji, there's a great saint, Gyani Gurbachan Singh Ji, Khalsa Pind Ramwale, and they do the art, they do the explanation of this Bhakti. They explain that Sunaya Mukh Salahan Mand can be translated another way. They say that Ojere Mand Purush, those bad people, and those Mukhi Purush, that those good people that are here, that just by listening to Gurbani, that those Mand Purush, those bad people can become so elevated that those great people that these bad people were previously intimidated by, they will now sing their praises. Guru Pyari Sad Sangat Ji, in our history it is written, Sant Hari Singh Ji writes, that eventually Bhumia Jor, through doing prachar, through explaining the teachings of Guru Nanak Badshah, they eventually became worthy of Sachkhand. Wow. That Bhumia Jor would become worthy of entering those gates that are guarded by Baba Ajit Singh Ji, by Baba Jujar Singh Ji, who sit in the company in the laps of Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj. Bhumia Jor still sits there today in the company of Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj. They become Sachkhand di Adhikari, Sant Hari Singh Ji writes. So they became worthy of Mukti. But here's something even more beautiful, Sad Sangat Ji, than just that. It is said in our history that Bhumia Jor would educate the king about Guru Nanak, and that king would fall in love with Guru Nanak, and they too would become a Brahmgyani, just by listening to Bhumia Jor. Jana Nanak tur bange tis gur Sikh ki, jo aap jape, avara naam japave. Guru Sahib explains to us, I long for the dust of the feet, Jana Nanak tur mange tis gur Sikh ki, of the Gur Sikhs, jo aap jape, that recite the name of God, that listen to the Guru's teachings, avara naam japave, and inspire others to do so. Bhumia Jor would make that king a Brahmgyani through those teachings of Guru Nanak. Guru Pyari Sad Sangat Ji, let's have a little check for ourselves. What are we teaching those around us? We might not have love for ourselves. We might have insecurities in our own being, about our own well-being. But let's just take ourselves out of the equation. How are we influencing those around us? Whose stories do we tell to those children in our company? Our brothers, our younger nephews and nieces. Perhaps we don't have that loyalty to our own being, but it's easy to have loyalty to those that we care about, no? Let's have a little check about whether or not we are making kings into Brahmgyanis around us through our own actions. It's written in our history that that king would go on to build a dharamsal in the name of Guru Nanak, that great, great king of all kings, whom they'd heard about through Bhumia Jor. Sunaya Mukh Salahan Manda, that just by listening to Gurbani, we can go from being so unworthy to completely worthy. Why is it so important, Guru Pyari Sadh Sangat Ji, that we share this itihas? Because in many ways, and I'm speaking perhaps primarily to myself, in many ways we're all Jor. I'm a Jor. What do I mean by this? I didn't rob anybody before I came in today. I know I'm from East London, but have a little bit of love and respect to your fellow brother here. I may not have robbed anybody on the way to the Gurukha today, but every single day that we don't come to the Guru's Charan, every single day that we don't listen to Katha and take this opportunity to recite the name of God, are we not robbing from ourselves? Are we not robbing from ourselves this opportunity of this life that we have been so many lifetimes before to receive? Are we not robbing from ourselves this opportunity of this gift, of this opportunity to be in the Sadh Sangat more often? Guru Pyari Sadh Sangat Ji is all positive though, because with every moment that we learn, with every moment that we share, it's a chance to turn it around. And for those of us that sit before the Guru and consider ourselves unworthy, that the life that I live means that I can't change, that the things that I do mean that I cannot make that progress. No, because we've just heard of that Jor, Bhumya, that went from being completely Mandapurush to becoming that Mukhi Purush, and here we are on the 15th of August 2021, we're still singing the praises of Bhumya Jor, that one who was completely unworthy, that one who had the lowest of all trades. So the thought for us today, Sadh Sangat Ji, is let's start living. Let's really think about what we're going to listen to that can change our own being. But I can't walk the path, we might say. This is too difficult, I might say. Maharaj says, Manne Maraga Thak Na Pai, that if you believe in the Guru, that if you just put aside your own beliefs and accept the Guru's as your own, be manne, if you believe in the Guru, Maraga Thak Na Pai, on your marag, there'll be no rukawat, there'll be no obstacle that the Guru will not remove. In fact, Sunaye Ande Pave Raho, Guru Sahib explains that forget even believing, let's go one step back, just by listening again to the Guru Shabad, by putting on Japji Sahib in the kitchen in the mornings as you pour cornflakes or crave into the bowl. Sunaye ande pave raho, just by listening, that person who's completely anna, who's blind, pave raho, you'll find your way. You can find that path. The time has gone so quick, Guru Pyari Sadh Sangat Ji. In these last few minutes, let's do something functional together. Let's take a step. And I'm going to invite you, Guru Pyari Sadh Sangat Ji, to just close your eyes. Humble benti from your brother. What I would invite you to do, Sadh Sangat Ji, as we sit before the Guru, is think of a step, something positive that you want to do. Maybe just to give you a few suggestions for those whose minds are blank, maybe we're going to start coming to the Gurdwara more often. We're going to keep our case. We're going to start reciting Japji Sahib every single day. Our Nityanem is going to become Pakka. We're going to wake a little earlier and start reciting the Guru Mantar with our families or on our own. The Vaheguru Mantar, delivered to us by Guru Nanak, that takes away all ego and makes us one with God. We're going to start listening to Katha from those great Gurmukhs. There's never been a time in history when Katha has been more available, more accessible to us than right now. With wonderful orgs like Sikh to Inspire, Basics of Sikhi, Guru Granth Sahib Ji Academy, great saints in this world. There's more Katha available on SoundCloud and YouTube than previously has ever existed. Maybe we're going to start listening to Katha. We're going to make notes. We're going to share what we've learned with our family and friends, that we can learn it again and again and again as we do. And what I want you to do, my brothers and sisters, is I want you to really visualize and put a picture in your mind of yourself doing this task. Really picture yourself reading from that Gurdwara Sahib, making notes as you listen to that Katha, getting out of that car in the Gurdwara car park. Really picture yourself, really visualize yourself doing that deed. And what I want you to do, Sadh Sangat Ji, is just project yourself 6 months into the future. You've been doing that deed for 6 months. You've been coming to the Gurdwara more regularly for 6 months. You've been reciting Japji Sahib or your Nitnem or Shabad Hazare, whatever you've added to your Nitnem every day, for 6 months now. You've kept your gaze for 6 months and now you've got a little gutti. You're tying it up with a hairband. Just really picture whatever it is that you've been doing. You've been doing it for 6 months. And what I want you to concentrate on is how you're going to feel. How accomplished you're going to feel. And if you want, it's entirely up to you. You can put a smile on your face to reflect that feeling that exists within your heart. As you just really picture how accomplished you're going to feel, how grateful you're going to feel, how much appreciation you're going to have for what you have done. For 6 months you've been sharing a Sakhi with your children, your nephews, your nieces, every day. For 6 months you've been preparing to take Amrit, and you're going to the Amrit Sanchar. Really think about how you're going to feel and put a deep smile on your face. And what we're going to do, Guru Pyari Sadh Sangat Ji, in these last few minutes that we have allocated, is we're going to recite the Guru's mantra 5 times. For what better place is there to recite that name? What better place is there to ask Guru Sahib to make this step your reality? So we're going to recite the Guru's mantra 5 times together in Sangat with your eyes closed. And really think about how you're going to feel. And if you're taken by a feeling of excitement, you're already on your way. The Guru's mantra is Vaheguru. Vaheguru means, in one very simple translation, Vahe, wow, wonderful, amazing. Guru, destroyer of darkness, bringer of light. Destroyer of pain and fear and suffering, anxiety and guilt. Bringer of love, strength, courage, kindness, fearlessness and progress. Vaheguru meaning, destroyer of all bad things and bringer of bliss and kindness and love. We're going to recite the Guru's mantra 5 times together in Sadh Sangat Ji. Vaheguru. Vaheguru. Sare japo ji. Guru Pyari Sadh Sangat Ji, let's start living. Let's start waking a little earlier. Let's find 5 minutes to recite the Guru Mantra. If we ain't got 5 minutes, we ain't really living. We might have houses, detached houses, houses with parking. You haven't even need resident permits to park your car. But if you ain't got 5 minutes, you ain't living. Let's find 5 minutes, 11 minutes, 22 minutes to wake up a little earlier, spend some time with our families, with our thoughts, with our hearts, to recite the Guru Mantra, to do Nityanam, that we can become one with God. Let's take positive steps for ourselves, for our family, that we can feel that bliss, that just like Bhumya Chor, that we can go from being Mand Purush to becoming Mukhi Purush, that we can go like those that had Karam written upon their foreheads, who by the blessings of those great saints in the company of Sant Janel Singh Ji would become completely clear of all Karam. Let's become one with their Shabad. Let's start living. If I've made any mistakes, you are the Sadh Sangat of Guru Nanak Maharaj. You are the Sangat that Guru Sahib has brought here today. You are the Sadh Sangat of Guru Sahib, and I ask for your forgiveness and your blessings. Deho Sajana Sisriya, Jo Hove Sahib Syo Mel, Vahe Guru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vahe Guru Ji Ki Fateh.
ਸਤਿਕਾਰਯੋਗ ਸਾਧ ਸੰਗਤ ਜੀ, ਆਪ ਜੀਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਗੁਰੂ ਸ਼ਬਦ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਜੋੜ ਰਿਹਾ ਸੀ ਭਾਈ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਭਾਈ ਅਮਨਦੀਪ ਸਿੰਘ ਜੀ, ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੇ ਇੱਥੇ ਦੇ ਨੌਜਵਾਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਮੰਗ ਨੂੰ ਦੇਖਦਿਆਂ ਹੋਇਆਂ ਅੰਗਰੇਜ਼ੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਆਪਣਾ ਲੈਕਚਰ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਸਾਂਝਾ ਕੀਤਾ। ਸਤਿਗੁਰੂ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਜੀ ਕਿਰਪਾ ਕਰਨ, ਇੱਕਾ ਬਾਣੀ ਇੱਕ ਗੁਰ, ਇੱਕੋ ਸ਼ਬਦ ਵਿਚਾਰ ਦੇ ਧਾਰਨੀ ਹੋ ਕੇ ਸਤਿਗੁਰੂ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਦੇ ਲੜ ਲੱਗ ਸਕੀਏ। ਗੁਰਦੁਆਰਾ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਦੇ ਪ੍ਰਬੰਧ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਭਾਈ ਅਮਨਦੀਪ ਸਿੰਘ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਬਹੁਤ ਬਹੁਤ ਧੰਨਵਾਦ ਹੈ, ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਰੁਝੇਵਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ ਸਮਾਂ ਕੱਢ ਕੇ ਅੱਜ ਆਪਣੇ ਵਿਚਾਰ ਸੰਗਤ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਸਾਂਝੇ ਕੀਤੇ ਨੇ। ਆਓ ਹੁਣ ਹਜ਼ੂਰੀ ਰਾਗੀ ਸਿੰਘ ਆਪ ਜੀਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਦੋ ਸ਼ਬਦਾਂ ਦੀ ਹਾਜ਼ਰੀ ਉਪਰੰਤ ਅਰਦਾਸ ਬੇਨਤੀ ਹੁਕਮਨਾਮੇ ਸਾਰੀਆਂ ਸੰਗਤਾਂ ਨੇ ਗੁਰੂ ਕੇ ਲੰਗਰ ਛਕ ਕੇ ਜਾਣਾ। ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ, ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ।
ਨਿਮਾਣਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਮਾਣ ਗੁਰੂ, ਨੀਤਾਣਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਤਾਣ ਗੁਰੂ ਆਸਰਾ ਗੁਰੂ। ਆਨੰਦ ਗੁਣੀ ਨਿਧਾਨ ਗੁਰੂ ਗਰੀਬ ਨਵਾਜ, ਗਰੀਬ ਨਵਾਜ, ਗਰੀਬ ਨਵਾਜ। ਬਾਬੀਹਾ ਪ੍ਰਿਯੋ ਪ੍ਰਿਯੋ ਕਰੇ, ਬਾਬੀਹਾ ਪ੍ਰਿਯੋ ਪ੍ਰਿਯੋ ਕਰੇ, ਬਾਬੀਹਾ ਪ੍ਰਿਯੋ ਪ੍ਰਿਯੋ ਕਰੇ, ਬਾਬੀਹਾ ਪ੍ਰਿਯੋ ਪ੍ਰਿਯੋ ਕਰੇ। ਜਨਿਦ ਪ੍ਰੇਮ ਪਿਆਰ, ਜਨਿਦ ਪ੍ਰੇਮ ਪਿਆਰ। ਬਾਬੀਹਾ ਪ੍ਰਿਯੋ ਪ੍ਰਿਯੋ ਕਰੇ, ਬਾਬੀਹਾ ਪ੍ਰਿਯੋ ਪ੍ਰਿਯੋ ਕਰੇ, ਬਾਬੀਹਾ ਪ੍ਰਿਯੋ ਪ੍ਰਿਯੋ। ਗੁਰ ਮਿਲੇ ਸੀਤਲ ਜਲ ਪਾਇਆ, ਗੁਰ ਮਿਲੇ ਸੀਤਲ ਜਲ ਪਾਇਆ, ਸਭ ਦੁੱਖ ਨਿਵਾਰਨ ਹਾਰ, ਸਭ ਦੁੱਖ ਨਿਵਾਰਨ ਹਾਰ। ਬਾਬੀਹਾ ਪ੍ਰਿਯੋ ਪ੍ਰਿਯੋ ਕਰੇ, ਬਾਬੀਹਾ ਪ੍ਰਿਯੋ ਪ੍ਰਿਯੋ ਕਰੇ, ਬਾਬੀਹਾ ਪ੍ਰਿਯੋ ਪ੍ਰਿਯੋ ਕਰੇ। ਜਲ ਨਿਧ ਪ੍ਰੇਮ ਪਿਆਰ, ਜਲ ਨਿਧ ਪ੍ਰੇਮ ਪਿਆਰ। ਬਾਬੀਹਾ ਪ੍ਰਿਯੋ ਪ੍ਰਿਯੋ ਕਰੇ, ਬਾਬੀਹਾ ਪ੍ਰਿਯੋ ਪ੍ਰਿਯੋ ਕਰੇ, ਬਾਬੀਹਾ ਪ੍ਰਿਯੋ ਪ੍ਰਿਯੋ ਕਰੇ। ਤਿਸ ਚੁਕੈ ਸਹਿਜ ਉਪਜੈ, ਤਿਸ ਚੁਕੈ ਸਹਿਜ ਉਪਜੈ, ਚੁਕੈ ਕੂਕ ਪੁਕਾਰ, ਚੁਕੈ ਕੂਕ ਪੁਕਾਰ। ਚੁਕੈ ਕੂਕ ਪੁਕਾਰ। ਨਾਨਕ ਗੁਰਮੁਖ ਸ਼ਾਂਤ ਹੋਏ, ਨਾਨਕ ਗੁਰਮੁਖ ਸ਼ਾਂਤ, ਨਾਨਕ ਗੁਰਮੁਖ ਸ਼ਾਂਤ ਹੋ ਸ਼ਾਂਤ। ਨਾਨਕ ਗੁਰਮੁਖ ਨਾਨਕ ਗੁਰਮੁਖ ਸ਼ਾਂਤ, ਸ਼ਾਂਤ ਹੋਏ, ਨਾਨਕ ਗੁਰਮੁਖ ਸ਼ਾਂਤ, ਨਾਨਕ ਗੁਰਮੁਖ ਸ਼ਾਂਤ ਹੋਏ। ਨਾਮ ਰੱਖੋ ਉਰਤਾਰ, ਨਾਮ ਰੱਖੋ ਉਰਤਾਰ। ਬਾਬੀਹਾ ਪ੍ਰਿਯੋ ਪ੍ਰਿਯੋ ਕਰੇ, ਬਾਬੀਹਾ ਪ੍ਰਿਯੋ ਪ੍ਰਿਯੋ ਕਰੇ। ਜਲ ਨਿਧ ਪ੍ਰੇਮ ਪਿਆਰ, ਜਲ ਨਿਧ ਪ੍ਰੇਮ ਪਿਆਰ। ਬਾਬੀਹਾ ਪ੍ਰਿਯੋ ਪ੍ਰਿਯੋ ਕਰੇ, ਬਾਬੀਹਾ ਪ੍ਰਿਯੋ ਪ੍ਰਿਯੋ ਕਰੇ। ਬੀਤੇ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ। ਨਾਨਕ ਗੁਰਮੁਖ ਸ਼ਾਂਤ ਹੋਏ, ਨਾਨਕ ਗੁਰਮੁਖ ਸ਼ਾਂਤ ਹੋਏ। ਨਾਮ ਰੱਖੋ ਉਰਤਾਰ, ਨਾਮ ਰੱਖੋ ਉਰਤਾਰ। ਬਾਬੀਹਾ ਪ੍ਰਿਯੋ ਪ੍ਰਿਯੋ ਬਾਬੇ ਹਪਰਿਓ ਪ੍ਰਿਓ ਕਰੇ ਜਲ ਨਿਧ ਪ੍ਰੇਮ ਪਿਆਰ ਜਲ ਨਿਧ ਪ੍ਰੇਮ ਪਿਆਰ ਬਾਬੇ ਹਪਰਿਓ ਪ੍ਰਿਓ ਬਾਬੇ ਹਪਰਿਓ ਪ੍ਰਿਓ ਬਾਬੇ ਹਪਰਿਓ ਪ੍ਰਿਓ ਕਰੇ ਬਾਬੇ ਹਪਰਿਓ ਪ੍ਰਿਓ ਕਰੇ ਜਲ ਨਿਧ ਪ੍ਰੇਮ ਪਿਆਰ ਜਲ ਨਿਧ ਪ੍ਰੇਮ ਪਿਆਰ ਗੁਰ ਮਿਲੇ ਸੀਤਲ ਜਲ ਪਾਇਆ ਗੁਰ ਮਿਲੇ ਸੀਤਲ ਜਲ ਪਾਇਆ ਸਭ ਦੁੱਖ ਨਿਵਾਰਨ ਹਾਰ ਸਭ ਦੁੱਖ ਨਿਵਾਰਨ ਹਾਰ ਗੁਰ ਮਿਲੇ ਸੀਤਲ ਜਲ ਪਾਇਆ ਸਭ ਦੁੱਖ ਨਿਵਾਰਨ ਹਾਰ ਬਾਬੇ ਹਪਰਿਓ ਪ੍ਰਿਓ ਬਾਬੇ ਹਪਰਿਓ ਪ੍ਰਿਓ ਬਾਬੇ ਹਪਰਿਓ ਪ੍ਰਿਓ ਕਰੇ ਜਲ ਨਿਧ ਪ੍ਰੇਮ ਪਿਆਰ ਦੇਖੇ ਨੀਂਦ ਨ ਆਵੇ ਮੈਂ ਬਿਨ ਗੁਰ ਦੇਖੇ ਨੀਂਦ ਨ ਆਵੇ ਮੈਂ ਬਿਨ ਗੁਰ ਦੇਖੇ ਨੀਂਦ ਨ ਆਵੇ ਮੇਰੇ ਮਨ ਤਨ ਵੇਦਨ ਗੁਰ ਬਿਰਹੋਂ ਲਗਾਵੇ ਮੇਰੇ ਮਨ ਤਨ ਵੇਦਨ ਗੁਰ ਬਿਰਹੋਂ ਲਗਾਵੇ ਮੈਂ ਬਿਨ ਗੁਰ ਦੇਖੇ ਨੀਂਦ ਨ ਆਵੇ ਮੈਂ ਬਿਨ ਗੁਰ ਦੇਖੇ ਨੀਂਦ ਨ ਆਵੇ ਮਧੂਸੂਦਨ ਮੇਰੇ ਮਨ ਤਨ ਪ੍ਰਾਣਾ ਮਧੂਸੂਦਨ ਮੇਰੇ ਮਨ ਤਨ ਪ੍ਰਾਣਾ ਹੋ ਹਰ ਬਿਨ ਦੂਜਾ ਅਵਰ ਨ ਜਾਣਾ ਹੋ ਹਰ ਬਿਨ ਦੂਜਾ ਅਵਰ ਨ ਜਾਣਾ ਕੋਈ ਸੱਜਣ ਸੰਤ ਮਿਲੇ ਵਡ ਭਾਗੀ ਮੈਂ ਹਰ ਪ੍ਰਭ ਪਿਆਰਾ ਦਸ ਜੀਓ ਮੈਂ ਹਰ ਪ੍ਰਭ ਪਿਆਰਾ ਦਸ ਜੀਓ ਮੈਂ ਬਿਨ ਗੁਰ ਦੇਖੇ ਨੀਂਦ ਨ ਆਵੇ ਮੈਂ ਬਿਨ ਗੁਰ ਦੇਖੇ ਨੀਂਦ ਨ ਆਵੇ ਮੇਰੇ ਮਨ ਤਨ ਵੇਦਨ ਗੁਰ ਬਿਰਹੋਂ ਲਗਾਵੇ ਮੈਂ ਬਿਨ ਗੁਰ ਦੇਖੇ ਨੀਂਦ न आवे, मैं बिन गुर देखे नींद न आवे। हो मन तन खोजी पाल पालाई, क्यों प्यारा प्रीतम मिले मेरी माई, क्यों प्यारा प्रीतम मिले मेरी माई। मिल सतसंगत खोज दसाई, विच संगत हर प्रभ वसै जी, विच संगत हर प्रभ वसै जी। मैं बिन गुर देखे नींद न आवे, मैं बिन गुर देखे नींद न आवे। मेरे मन तन वेदन गुर बिरहों लगावे, मेरे मन तन वेदन गुर बिरहों लगावे। मैं बिन गुर देखे नींद न आवे, मैं बिन गुर देखे नींद न आवे। मेरा प्यारा प्रीतम सतगुर रखवाला, हम बारिक दीन करो प्रतिपाला। मेरा प्यारा प्रीतम सतगुर रखवाला, हम बारिक दीन करो प्रतिपाला। मेरा मात पिता गुर सतगुर पूरा, गुर जल मिल कमल विगसे जियो, गुर जल मिल कमल विगसे जियो। मैं बिन गुर देखे नींद न आवे, मैं बिन गुर देखे नींद न आवे। मेरे मन तन वेदन गुर बिरहों लगावे, मेरे मन तन वेदन गुर बिरहों लगावे। मैं बिन गुर देखे नींद न आवे, मैं बिन गुर देखे नींद न आवे। हर हर दया करो गुरु मेलो, जन नानक गुर मिल रहसे जी। ਨਾਨਕ ਗੁਰ ਮਿਲ ਰਹਸੈ ਜੀਓ। ਹਰ ਹਰ ਦਇਆ ਹਰ ਹਰ ਦਇਆ ਕਰੋ ਗੁਰ ਮੇਲੋ। 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 ਜਨ ਨਾਨਕ ਗੁਰ ਮਿਲ ਰਹਸੈ ਜੀਓ। ਜਨ ਨਾਨਕ ਗੁਰ ਮਿਲ ਰਹਸੈ ਜੀਓ। ਮੈਂ ਬਿਨ ਗੁਰ ਦੇਖੇ ਨੀਂਦ ਨ ਆਵੇ। ਮੈਂ ਬਿਨ ਗੁਰ ਦੇਖੇ ਨੀਂਦ ਨ ਆਵੇ। ਮੇਰੇ ਮਨ ਤਨ ਵੇਦਨ ਗੁਰ ਬਿਰਹੁ ਲਗਾਵੇ। ਮੇਰੇ ਮਨ ਤਨ ਵੇਦਨ ਗੁਰ ਬਿਰਹੁ ਲਗਾਵੇ। ਮੈਂ ਬਿਨ ਗੁਰ ਦੇਖੇ ਨੀਂਦ ਨ ਆਵੇ। 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 ਰਾਮ ਕਲੀ ਮਹਲਾ ਤੀਜਾ। ਆਨੰਦ ਏਕ ਓੰਕਾਰ ਸਤਿਗੁਰ ਪ੍ਰਸਾਦ। ਆਨੰਦ ਪਿਆ ਮੇਰੀ ਮਾਏ। ਸਤਿਗੁਰੂ ਮੈਂ ਪਾਇਆ। ਸਤਿਗੁਰ ਤਾਂ ਪਾਇਆ ਸਹਿਜ। ਮਨ ਵਜੀਆਂ ਵਾਧਾਈਆਂ। ਰਾਗ ਰਤਨ ਪਰਵਾਰ ਭਰੀਆਂ ਸ਼ਬਦ ਗਾਵਣ। ਸਭ ਦੋਤਾਂ ਗਾਵੋ ਹਰੀ ਕੇਰਾ ਮਨ ਜਿਨੀ ਵਸਾਇਆ। ਕਹਿ ਨਾਨਕ ਨੰਦੂ ਆ ਸਤਿਗੁਰੂ ਮੈਂ ਪਾਇਆ। ਏ ਮਨ ਮੇਰਿਆ ਤੂੰ ਸਦਾ ਰੋ ਹਰ ਨਾਲ। ਹਰ ਨਾਲੋ ਮਨ ਮੇਰੇ ਤੂੰ ਸਭ ਸਾਰਨਾ। ਅੰਗੀਕਾਰੋ ਕਰੇ ਤੇਰਾ ਕਾਰਜ ਸਭ ਸਵਾਰਨਾ। ਸਭਨਾ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਸਮਰਤ ਕਹਿ ਨਾਨਕ ਮਨ ਮੇਰੇ ਸਦਾ ਰੋ ਹਰ ਨਾਲੇ। ਸਾਚੇ ਸਾਹਿਬਾ ਕਿਆ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਾ ਤੇਰੇ। ਘਰ ਤਾਂ ਤੇਰੇ ਸਭ ਕੁਝ ਹੈ ਜੇ ਦੇ ਸੋ ਪਾਵੇ। ਸਦਾ ਸਿਵ ਸਲਾਹ ਤੇਰੀ ਨਾਮ ਮਨ ਵਸਾਵੇ। ਨਾਮ ਜਿਨ ਕੈ ਮਨ ਵਸਿਆ ਵਾਜੇ ਸ਼ਬਦ ਕੰਧੇਰੇ। ਕਹਿ ਨਾਨਕ ਸੱਚੇ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਕਿਆ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਾ ਤੇਰੇ। ਸਚ ਨਾਮ ਮੇਰਾ ਆਧਾਰ। ਸਾਚ ਨਾਮ ਆਧਾਰ ਮੇਰਾ ਜਿਨ ਸਭ ਗਵਾਈਆਂ। ਕਰ ਸ਼ਾਂਤ ਸੁਖ ਮਨ ਆਇ ਵਸਿਆ। ਜਿਨ ਇੱਛਾ ਸਭ ਪੁਜਾਈਆਂ। ਸਦਾ ਕੁਰਬਾਨ ਕੀਤਾ ਗੁਰ ਵੇਟੋ ਜਿਸ ਦੀਆਂ ਇਹ ਵਡਿਆਈਆਂ। ਕਹਿ ਨਾਨਕ ਸੁਣੋ ਸੰਤੋ ਸ਼ਬਦ ਰੂਪਿਆ। ਸਾਚਾ ਨਾਮ ਮੇਰਾ ਆਧਾਰੂ ਵਾਜੇ ਪੰਜ ਸ਼ਬਦ ਘਰ ਸੁਭਾਗੇ। ਘਰ ਸੁਭਾਗੇ ਸ਼ਬਦ ਵਾਜੇ ਕੱਲਾ ਜਿਤ ਕਰਤਾਰਿਆ। ਪੰਜ ਦੂਤ ਵਸ ਕੀਤੇ ਕਾਲ ਦੁਰ ਕਰਮ ਪਾਇਆ ਤੁਧ ਜਿਨ ਕੋ ਸੇ ਨਾਮ ਹਰ ਕੈ ਲਾਗੇ। ਕਹਿ ਨਾਨਕ ਆਨੰਦ ਸੁਣੋ ਬੜ ਭਾਗੀ ਹੋ। ਸਗਲ ਮਨੋਰਥ ਪੂਰੇ। ਪਾਪ ਪਾਇਆ ਉਤਰੇ ਸਗਲ ਵਸੂਰੇ। ਦੁਖ ਰੋਗ ਸੰਤਾਪ ਉਤਰੇ ਸੁਣੀ ਸੱਚੀ ਬਾਣੀ। ਸੰਤ ਸਾਜਨ ਭਏ ਸਰਸੇ ਸੁਣਤੇ ਪੁਨੀਤ ਕਹਤੇ ਪਵੇ। ਸਤਿਗੁਰ ਰਹਾ ਭਰਪੂਰੇ। ਬਿਨਵੰਤ ਪਵਨ ਗੁਰੂ ਪਾਣੀ ਪਿਤਾ ਮਾਤਾ ਧਰਤ ਮਹਤ। ਦਿਵਸ ਰਾਤ ਦਾਈ ਦਾਇਆ ਖੇਲੇ ਸਗਲ ਜਗਤ। ਚੰਗਿਆਈਆਂ ਬੁਰਿਆਈਆਂ ਵਾਚੇ ਧਰਮ ਹਦੂਰ। ਕਰਮੀ ਆਪੋ ਆਪਣੀ ਕੇ ਨੇੜੇ ਕੇ ਦੂਰ। ਜਿਨੀ ਨਾਮ ਤੇ ਆਇਆ ਗਏ ਮਸ਼ਕਤ ਕਾ। ਨਾਨਕ ਤੇ ਮੁਖ ਉਜਲੇ ਕੀਤੀ ਛੁੱਟੀ ਨਾ। ਜਿਨੀ ਨਾਮ ਧਿਆਇਆ ਗਏ ਮਸਕਤ ਕਾਲ, ਨਾਨਕ ਤੇ ਮੁਖ ਉਜਲੇ ਕੀਤੀ ਛੁਪੀ ਨਾ। ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ, ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ।